What's up, true believers? Chris Mack coming at you with the Age of Apocalypse. And I'm so happy to finally have one of these in hand. I want to give a shout out to my buddy Isaac, and he went out of his way to go to his Target because nowhere in my area had one, and he picked one up for me and shipped it to me, so thank you so much, brother. I appreciate you. And if you guys want to get your hands on this, I think it is a Target exclusive in terms of retail stores. But as I always say, please first and foremost check with your local comic shop and see if they can get it for you that way. And if not, if you don't have one nearby, I do see that it is available for pre-order at the time of this recording at Dorkside Toys and Big Bad Toy Store. So make sure to check those out if that's the type of option you need to go. And as you can see here, I love the way the window looks. I like that they kept the motif of the X-Men logo here, just like all the Sugar Man wave that we just currently went over. The same thing with the Age of Apocalypse logo there on the top. Looks great. Come around to the side, and this artist rendition, as I've said with most of them, it's kind of hit or miss with me. I kind of wish that they would have kept closer to the original books, but with art, you always have to kind of use different renditions, so I can't complain too much that someone wanted to kind of give their own flavor to it. That's cool with me, especially the menacing face. That looks neat. Come around to the back, you get that really, really neat product shot of him holding that skull. It is brutal. You get a read-up. I'll get a close-up on the read-up so you guys can read it at your leisure. Come back around here to the side, same artist rendition there. Come around back to the front. See the bottom, all the legal stuff. Who cares? But what we do care about is En Sabah Nur a cool figure or not? So let's go ahead and get Blue Lips here out of the packaging and get a closer look at him. And here's Apocalypse out of his packaging. And as you can see, just looks absolutely phenomenal once you get him posed and put under the lights. I am thoroughly excited that I have this figure. When I initially saw him in the packaging, I was on the fence because I thought to myself, nothing can really beat that Apocalypse Build-A-Figure wave that came out. But his design in the Age of Apocalypse was just too awesome that you can't pass it up saying that that's not a cool design, and I really feel that Hasbro kind of knocked it out of the park in terms of the sculpting. So with that said, let's get him off the spinner and let's take a closer look. The first appearance of this Apocalypse was X-Men Alpha #1. That's the book that kicked off the Age of Apocalypse back in February of 1995 and happens immediately after the events of Legion's Quest. In Legion's Quest, the death of Professor Xavier happened in X-Men number 42. So chronologically, this leads Apocalypse to attack 10 years sooner than he did in the original 616 timeline, taking control of the Earth and altering the future of the Marvel Universe moving forward. And that's kind of the backstory of how the Age of Apocalypse happened. If you haven't read this series, we've been going over. I'll leave cards throughout this review so you guys can check them out at your convenience. Definitely one of the high points of Marvel Universe. Now, with that said, let's look at the accessories that this character comes with. So we're going to back Apocalypse off so I can have him on the camera here. So these fists, they look kind of like, to me, reused pieces from Colossus. Because if you look at the knuckles, that looks very much like the Juggernaut Colossus 2-pack, but still that dark gray and the black wash they put on there just looks excellent. Liking it. So you get a fist, and then you also get the sinister open hand, and then of course another fist hand. So I'm glad that we get that accessory, and then we get the, as we just saw, the serious head look, which kind of that, which I prefer this one because Apocalypse is not very known very often to smile. But nonetheless, this head sculpt, just like the other one, very good on the grays, the teeth, the tongue, the blues, the reds on the eyes, and then just the way to make it actually look like how skin would crinkle, where, shows with age. Great work there. I like the shimmer on the helmet, how that just reflects in the light. That looks good. I'm glad that they kept the lines on Apocalypse's face because that's what he's always been known for. That's why they always called him Blue Lips back in the day. So the head sculpt there is really nice. The piece that I particularly enjoy is being able to have this skull because, you want to show like a desolate photography shot or whatever. You're always looking for skulls that are going to scale with your figures. So I wish I could get some more of these. If you guys know where I can get some more, like skulls for desolation shots or whatnot, let me know down in the comments. But I like how this one has the crack in the skull where it's like where Apocalypse probably punched this person to death. You know, the dirtiness of it, the graininess of it just really adds to what the Age of Apocalypse really was. You can see that this person did not die a good death in terms of how the skull looks. But yeah, this looks like something you'd see in a college professor's office. Just very well rendered. Teeth look good. Cracks look good. The hollow points were the eye cavities, the nose cavities, jawbone. Just everything looks anatomically correct. So I appreciate having something like that with this figure. The last thing that he comes with is this cape. And again, I've said this both with the multiverse figures and with the Hasbro figures, is I wish we could get away from solid plastic pieces like this. It's very frustrating. I wish instead that we could go like the Mezco route where we can get the cloth with the bendy wire, because those just look so much better. Now, that's not to say that, you know, when you put it on Apocalypse, it has little pegs that you put in here. So you just slap that sucker there, slap that sucker there, and it stays relatively well. As I just said, it's not to say that it doesn't look good, but, you know, if say you want to have him sit down on a throne or whatever, it doesn't bend. I mean, yeah, it's soft plastic as we see, and, you know, I like the way that it drapes the way that a cape's supposed to. But again, you want them to stand or have a certain pose. These capes just do not cut the mustard when it comes to that. So I kind of wish that Hasbro could find a cost-effective way to kind of do the cloth capes, because, you know, Mezco, Hot Toys, etc., so forth, they can get away with that because they're more high-end figures. So I wish that Hasbro could find a competitive way, because there's some of us who love these figures and we don't want to go the other road because it's so flipping expensive. So that's just me. So for the meantime, if you guys want bendy wire capes, you're going to have to go through the third-party market, because there are some people that have just been super creative in making capes for the 1/12 scale figures. So good luck to you. Now with the figure himself, I love this head sculpt compared to the smiling one that we just saw. Just that grimace, to me, that just screams Apocalypse. Either that or like a screaming face, but just having that serious dread, that really screams En Sabah Nur to me. Now when it comes to the head sculpt, one thing I do want to point out that you're going to have one hell of a hard time with is this neck piece here. Trying to pop the head off, you have to really want it, because you do not have that clearance. But the head, once you get it off, and you can kind of, and another thing too is you can take this off. So it does have plugs, so if you don't want that on there, you don't have to. And then getting the head back on there, that joint there likes to move, so you have to be very patient. There we go. So yeah, that's probably one thing, like a design flaw, is I hate that they made the neck peg so deep in there. It's like, damn it. Now the shoulder pads, we'll get into that in a moment, but I'm glad that they're on there. They look good. They're nice and sculpted, and they move, so you get some clearance. So we'll get into that in the articulation, but I'm glad that they give that option. Just be careful, because they can break, because, you know, plastic. Overall, the blue looks good, very well sculpted. I'm glad that he shimmers all the way around. We have seen figures where, you know, like the front of the figure is nice and shiny like this, and then it'll stop midway, like they ran out of money or they just stopped caring. So I'm glad for this deluxe figure that they didn't shirk on that. The gloves look exactly like they do in the comics. As you can see how this one stays over the fist and how this one kind of flaps up. If you have that problem, you can just heat it up, hold it down, let it cool off, and it'll go flush. Again, I just too lazy to do it. Like the red here, like he has like some sort of faux belt. The musculature looks excellent. I like the red and silver boots. Now again, as I said, I know this looks like the comic version, but I kind of wish that they would have darkened the blue just a little bit. That's just personal preference, like they did the shoulder pads here. I don't know, when you put them up against the original Age of Apocalypse one, where he has that nice dark blue like he did in the comics and the cartoon, that's just a personal preference. But again, very comic accurate. Paint apps look excellent. Comic accurate. Can't complain. Looks beautiful. For the articulation, believe it or not, for a big beefy guy like this, there's only really one gripe that I have. So let's go ahead and get into it. Now, as I was talking about a minute ago, how this thing, it's a pain in the butt to swap the heads, but I'm glad that there's enough clearance here to where you can actually move the head and not be hindered. You know, that's not such a hard concept for other figures that we've seen where it's like, you know, they could look up, but like their hair or something, and it just drives you up the wall and frosts you. I'm glad that they thought about when they did that. Same here, where you know, it'll kind of warp it a little bit, but you can still turn the head side to side, and he's on that dumbbell rocker, so you can get that techno stuff going on there. Arms can go up. Now, as I was talking about the pads here, do flap, and you got to be careful because there's of course, when I want to show it to you guys, it's going to hide in the shadows. But you can kind of see it there. You want to be careful with this thing because you don't want to bust those tabs off. Now, the reason that I say this is that the arms can go out this much. The pads do allow for that. But again, the only thing that's going to kind of suck is be very careful. You're going to have to kind of twist the arm out because you don't want to snap this and then be SOL. But at least, you know, you can kind of work it around that way and get it 180, so you at least got that option. He does have the upper bicep swivel there. Now, where it kind of irks me in terms of the arms is it's a single jointed elbow. It's like, damn it. But because of these big-ass gloves and then because Apocalypse is a big swole dude, you know, you got these big biceps going on here. I understand why. I just kind of wish that they would have figured out some sort of clearance. But it is what it is. That's probably just one thing overall in terms of the articulation that really irks my Gurk. Now, even with this, I'm kind of glad that it's pushed up as you can spin the hand 360. You can kind of move the hand up and down, so at least you're not hindered there. Ab crunch goes that far forward, that far backwards, so that's awesome. You know, you get good movement at the waist there. Legs do go up that far. Leg goes forward. And just like with almost Hasbro figures, the butt flap, this is where I wish Hasbro would take notes from McFarlane, where the butt is soft plastic, so you can go straight back instead of having to twist it out. I hate that a lot of these great figures fall victim to that damn butt flap on the Hasbro side. Upper thigh cut there. Just about double jointed knees, so at least you get some good articulation there. Does have a boot cut, foot go up, foot go down, and he does have ankle pivots. So for the most part, you have everything that you'd want. The butt flap and the single jointed elbows are probably the only two things that really irritate me. But overall, I'm glad that you can move this guy around and get some good range of motion out of him. Now here's this Apocalypse against some of his 616 counterparts, along with some of the characters that are also in his universe. This is the Sugarman Build-A-Figure Wave Weapon X. This is the Colossus Build-A-Figure Wave Kitty, or Catherine Pride, because she doesn't go by Kitty in that universe. Here's the Apocalypse Build-A-Figure Wave Sabretooth, and then here is the Build-A-Figure Apocalypse, all in his glory. And that's what I was talking about when you look at these two. I love the blues on this one 100% more. However, in this dark alternate reality, this is the colors that he had, so I can't complain too much. But in terms of personal choice, that dark blue old school Apocalypse is just always gonna beat it, just no matter what. That's how it is, hands down for me. But being able to finally start getting all these tangible AOA figures, I mean, Kitty having a Colossus Build-A-Figure Wave, which we will be going over these really soon. We've already gone over this one, so I'll make sure to leave a card somewhere up here. We've gone over Sabretooth as well, so I'll leave a card around this review as well. But as you line them up, you can see that if you just want to put them on a shelf, they're going to look freaking spectacular. Or if you're like me and you're going to do some photography, they are highly photogenic. So let me know what you guys think of all of these characters down in the comments below. I thoroughly enjoyed this figure. I'm glad that I got him. The Build-A-Figure Wave Apocalypse is still my favorite, but to be able to have the Age of Apocalypse version, which was like the definitive part of my childhood, and having a tangible figure of him, I am one happy camper. The only thing that does chap my hide about this one is the single jointed elbows, but when it gets to when you get to these deluxe and beefy looking figures, you have to kind of give them a break because there's only so much, real estate to be able to move around the wrist, especially with those big old swole muscles like that. I can understand. So at least he has the double jointed knees. And the only other thing is probably having to swap out the heads, as I showed you guys, because trying to get around that neck piece, that chaps my butt. But that's okay. For this type of figure, with those type of, having that little bit of problems, you can't complain overall. So I am 100% on board with this figure. And if you are, as I said, please first and foremost support your local comic shop and see if anyone has traded it in, and you can support your shop that way. And if you've enjoyed this review, we really would appreciate it if you take a moment to hit like, share, and subscribe. Helps the club channel more than you can possibly know. And if you wouldn't mind hitting that fancy little mutant bell next to subscribe, that way as we continue to upload content, you guys will get notified. Come to the channel, and we love talking with you all and hearing your thoughts and feedback down in the comments below, or social media pages, which I'll make sure to leave the links down in the description. So with all that said, thank you so much for stopping by. Photo slideshow coming up next, and I hope y'all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, true believers.